Oh, what's going on, guys? HK Titan here with a brand new video for you guys. But first things first, as always, hope you guys are having an amazing day. So today's video, I have something to play for you guys, and we're going to be doing a BTD6 tier list. So for this tier list, what this tier list is going to be based around are the best towers to use for the boss Bloonarius. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump straight into it. Alright guys, and here we are with the tier list. So for this tier list, I will be rating every tower in Bloons Tower Defense 6, including the heroes as well. Now for the tier list itself, it's going to go from double S all the way down to F. I do have a section here called NA, and that's going to be where I'm going to place towers that I haven't used a lot against the actual boss balloon itself, and I don't know if it would do good against the boss balloon or if it wouldn't do good against the boss balloon. So this is kind of a gray area where I don't know exactly where to place towers. So now that I went ahead and covered the tier list, let's go ahead and continue on with actually placing the towers. Alright guys, so the first tower that we're going to start off with is going to be the Balloon Master Alchemist. Now this guy is a powerhouse during the late game, like past round 200 plus, but against the boss balloon, I'm going to go ahead and rate it as a C tier, because the Balloon Master Alchemist does help a little bit, but as far as like actually being able to help against the boss balloon, it's just kind of super ineffective. So now on to the bottom pathway Monkey Bank. Now, obviously, going against the boss balloon like Banana Farms and Monkey Banks and Monkeyopolis and all that fun stuff are really important to get. But as far as like the three banks or the three Banana Farms are concerned, I'm going to go ahead and place this as an A tier. It is really good in the early game, but once you start getting past like round 60 or 70, it kind of falls off pretty hard. Now onto the recursive cluster bomb blitz. Now I haven't really used this one a lot against the boss balloon, and I could see how it would be decent. I just don't know if it would actually be useful against the boss balloon, because usually if you end up leaking like one balloon, you're gonna end up losing nonetheless. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw it under the same classification as the the Balloon Master Alchemist. Now I could probably move it up to a B tier or a D tier, but as far as I'm concerned, I think it should kind of stick below here, because there's definitely a lot better towers that you can actually use against the boss balloon. Now onto the bottom pathway Boomer. I'm going to go ahead and throw this one instantly straight into the, I don't know if he should be an S tier. I'm going to go ahead and place him as the A tier for now. I may end up moving him up to an S tier later on in the tier list, but for right now, I'm going to go ahead and stick him as an A tier. Now onto the Balloon Exclusion Zone. I haven't used this one too much. I have used the Ray of Doom. I've used the MAD. I think I've used this one like once or twice, and it really didn't like tickle my fancy too much. I do know that it does quite a bit of DPS up until like round like 110, but for the most part, I think it's definitely a tower that can be replaced by like the Flying Fortress or a tower like that. So for the start, I'm going to go ahead and place it under a D tier. It is a little bit on the pricey end, so it would be a tower that you would get more towards the late game opposed to the early game. Now moving on to the Crossbow Master. So the Crossbow Master is like against the boss balloon itself, it falls off like after like tier 2, but the Crossbow Master is kind of in a special place because you need the Crossbow Master in order to get the Paragons. So this is pretty much going to be the case for all the Boomerang monkeys and the Dart monkeys as well. Because you need them for the Paragons, I'm going to be placing them under the B tier. And this is kind of like a safe place. It's not like you need them, but you do need them at the same time. So it's kind of like I don't know exactly where to place them, because they do fall off super hard in the late game unless you upgrade them to the Paragons themselves. So I think the B tier is kind of a safe place to put them, because they aren't the best, but they aren't the worst, but they have the potential to be the best, I guess. Alright, so moving on to the Avatar of Wrath. Now this boy actually surprised me against the boss balloon. Because the boss balloon is on the screen at the entire time, he always stays at max charge, and he absolutely shreds the boss balloon. And you guys should know this from, I think a few weeks ago when I played against the elite boss balloon. The Avatar of Wrath absolutely destroyed the boss. So that being said, I'm not going to place him as an S tier, because the S tier is like the end all be all, or the really good towers against the boss balloon. But I do believe he deserves a respectable A-class tower for sure. On to the bottom pathway Engineer, dumping him straight into the F tier. Like, there's way better towers to use. Like, he can't suck up a bunch of Moab balloons, or at least enough to make a difference against the boss. and he's just way too expensive. The only thing that we're going to end up using the bottom pathway and engineer for is a sacrifice for the Vengeful Sun God. Now onto the Glue Gunner. Now Glue Gunner is kind of a hit or miss again, because it's not useful against the actual boss itself. It's only useful against the Moab balloons that come out of the boss balloon, which I think for the most part it's just kind of a waste of money unless it's like hyper late game and you don't know exactly what towers you want to buy. So for that reason, I'm going to go ahead and place it under a B tier, just because I don't want to disrespect the stall, but there's definitely a couple of other stall towers that work out a little bit better, like the bottom pathway Boomerang Monkey. Moving on to the Comanche Commander. Now, again, this is more of a stall tower. Now, I have used all of the heli pilots against the boss balloon. None of them really stood out. To be completely honest, I feel like the Bomb Blitz and the Balloon Master Alchemist would help a lot more against the boss balloon. So that being said, this is probably gonna kind of hurt a couple of people, but for the most part, I feel like either the Comanche Commander belongs in F tier or C tier, but pretty much wherever I place the Comanche Commander is where all of the other heli pilots are gonna go. The only useful one out of all of the heli pilots is going to be the mid path, obviously, because you can transport towers around the map. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and throw it into the F tier, because it really doesn't serve a purpose, to be completely honest. Icicle Impale does damage, has a decent amount of stall, but again, for the most part, it doesn't work against the actual boss itself. So I'm going to go ahead, respect the stall, place it under the B tier. It will help with the balloons that come out of the boss balloon, but for the most part, all of your other towers, like your Vengeful Sun God, your Avatar of Wrath, your MAD, all of those towers are gonna what's gonna be doing a massive amount of damage to those balloons and actually being able to finish them up. Alright, so now we're on to the Flying Fortress. Flying Fortress, a lot of popping power, a little bit on the expensive side. It's definitely a tower that I usually end up getting against the boss balloon, but I definitely feel like it's a tower that's not going to super perform. But I do feel like it does perform a little bit better than the balloon exclusion zone. So for that reason, I will place it as a B class tower. Moving on to the bottom pathway Monkey Buccaneer. This is kind of a situational base tower. So if you're playing on Spice Islands or a map with a lot of water, the strategy that I used, I think for like the second or third boss fight, it actually revolved around using the Monkey Buccaneer and all that fun stuff in order to make our cash. So depending on what map you're on, the bottom pathway Monkey Buccaneer can actually help out quite a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and place it under an 80 tier because it is limited due to maps. I'm going to go ahead and leave it there, and I'm not going to move it from that position. Sub Commander does a decent amount of damage against Moab balloons. I feel like it would be under the same category as the Avatar of Wrath. I don't feel like it's as... I feel like it's stronger than the Flying Fortress and all the stall towers that we have, but I don't feel like it's anywhere, or I don't feel like it's better than the Avatar of Wrath, so I'm going to go ahead and place it under an A tier. Moving on to the bottom pathway village. Now, this is going to be the only tier list that this will ever happen, but the bottom pathway village is actually a double S class tower for the simple fact that once you get this village placed down and you sacrifice all the right banana farms to it, this tower is a really good source of income, and if you guys are not using it, I strongly recommend using this tower ASAP. Moving on to the Mortar Monkey. It does have the ability to remove reinforcement from BFBs and below. It works on DDT balloons as well. But for the most part, I hate micro because I'm already trying to micro all of my banana farms. I'm trying to place down the towers that I need to place down. I'm trying to make sure that I sell the towers when I need to sell them. So the fact that Ninja Kiwi wants me to also come through and kind of micro where to place down the mortars, not my thing. Going to place it under a C tier. I would place it under an F tier, but the only reason why I'm leaving it as C is because this is the one Mortar Monkey where you can actually place it down. It'll help remove the reinforcement from balloons, so I will give it a little bit of props and leave it as a C tier. Master Bomber, I haven't used the tier 5 against the boss balloon, but I do know that the tier 4 is actually the current cheapest way of beating the boss balloon. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and leave this one under an S tier just because it is one of the cheapest ways of dealing with the first tier boss balloon for sure. Elite Defender, around 27k to get him up to a tier 5. I don't feel like it's worth it. There's definitely a bunch of other towers that I would recommend getting first before even attempting to go for this specific sniper boy. So I'm going to go ahead and place it under an F tier. Not to hurt anybody who likes the Elite Defender. It's just like there's definitely a lot better towers that you can save up for. Opposed to going for an Elite Defender, I would recommend going for Banks. Permaspike, at max, if you have all the spikes placed down, I think we'll end up doing 1,000,000 damage capped, which against the boss balloon could help out. I'm gonna go ahead and throw it under a B tier because if you do have or if you are playing it super sketchy and you have the boss balloon get to the very end, if the boss balloon has less than 1,000,000 health, then the permaspike should be able to finish off the rest of the boss. But that's getting a little bit close, which is why I'm only gonna leave it as a B tier. Legend of the Night. I haven't tested it myself, but from my understanding, if you leak a tier 4 or below Bloonarius at the end of the track, if you're playing on elite mode or normal mode, it will actually let the boss balloon slip through, if I'm not mistaken. Now, that could have been fixed. I don't know as of right now. If it's fixed, I'm going to place it as an A tier. If it isn't fixed, I'm going to place it as an S tier. But at the same time, I feel like the Legend of the Night kind of belongs in the same position as like the sacrifices for the Paragons. So I'm going to go ahead and place it as a B tier just to be safe. Tax Zone. I've used the Tax Zone each week up to this point. Tax Zone absolutely shreds the boss. Especially paired with the Top Pathway Village and Owl Alchemist. It's a really good way to start off your boss fights. So I'm going to go ahead and place the Tax Zone as an S tier. Right now, every single map that I played is worked on. So we'll go ahead and see how weeks to come if this is still going to be viable in the future. Prince of Darkness. Again, cheap tier 5. As far as like actually being useful against the boss, it'll end up clearing out the balloons that come with the boss. But I don't know exactly if it would be like one of the towers that would be my go-to. I'm going to go ahead and give it a little bit of respect because I haven't tested its limits just yet. So I will place it as a D-class hero for now. Now let's move on to Unstable Concoction. I haven't tested this yet. I think this would be good against the boss for the simple fact of how many Moab balloons you're dealing with. I haven't tested it yet. So I'm going to go ahead and place it as our first NA because I don't know where I should put it. Monkey Banks. Easy double S. Like, against the boss, you need a lot of cash. Monkey Banks is a really, really good early round way of making that cash. Moab Eliminator. I've used this once against the boss balloon. I did notice that it worked really good against like the tier 1 and tier 2. Against the tier 3, it kind of falls off super hard. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a D class for now. I don't feel like this has much practicality for the most part, but it can definitely be useful in some situations. Permacharge, haven't used it yet. If it's anything like the Glaive Lord, I do feel like it would belong under a tier or definitely not an S tier. But because we are going to be kind of throwing the Paragons into the mix, I will place the Permaspike as a B tier for now. The Mad, I've used the Mad every single week. It's really, really good damage against the tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 boss. Well, not the tier 1, but the tier 2 and tier 3 boss. I usually end up going for the Mad regardless. So I'm going to go ahead and place it as an S-class tower for now. The Dart Monkey, not a fan against the actual boss itself, but again, you need it for the Paragon, so B-class tower it is. Spirit of the Forest, really good as kind of a little bit of way to make some bonus cash. If it wasn't for the bonus cash that the Spirit of the Forest makes you, I would place it as an F tier because it doesn't do a lot of damage. But because it does make you quite a bit of cash, I'm going to go ahead and throw it under the same rank as our bottom pathway Monkey Buccaneer and our bottom pathway Banana Farm as well. Ultra Boost, this can make or break your defense. Easy double S tier. Glue Gunner, I haven't fully tested this to its extent. I have heard a lot of good things, how it gives like all of your towers +1 damage against the boss balloon. But I feel like when I did use it, I was kind of underwhelmed at how much it actually helped. So I'm not gonna place it as an F tier, but I'm gonna place it as a D tier for right now. Once I do a little bit more experimentation, it may move up to a B tier, or it may move all the way down to an F tier. I'm not exactly sure right now. The middle pathway Heli, C tier, only because it can move your towers around, which can be helpful, especially when you're working with a permabrew, or if you want to move a tower that you place down and you just want to make sure that it doesn't get sacrificed to your vengeful sun god. Bottom pathway Ice, not worth it. Sar Bomba, I'm not sure. I don't know how much Pierce the Sar Bomba actually has. I don't think it can wipe out an entire map, so I think I'm going to place it under the NA for now. For the next boss event, I'll actually do a little bit of testing to see if it would actually be worth it to buy it. The middle pathway Monkey Buccaneer, the Monkey Pirates, not really worth it. Preemptive Strike, it works good in most game modes, but against the boss balloon, it's kind of lackluster. I'm going to go ahead and place it under the same as the rest of the towers that I kind of really don't want to place too high, but I don't want to place too low either. Homeland Defense, easy S tier. You're going to use it regardless of where you're playing. You're always going to have this in your roster, or if you don't, you definitely should. Bottom pathway Mortar, F tier. Don't want to micro the Mortar Monkey on top of microing everything else. The middle pathway Ninja, kind of another stall tower. Its effect doesn't work against the boss balloon, but it can still help out in the late game against like the bad balloons that pop out, against all of the normal rounds on top of dealing with the boss balloon. So we'll go ahead and throw that as a B class tower simply for the stall. Elite Defender, or not Elite Defender, but the Elite Sniper. Not going to place it as an F tier because it will end up helping out the other sniper that I'm going to place a lot higher. So for this one, I'm going to place it as a C tier, just simply because of the fact that it will end up helping out the other sniper, aka the Cripple Moab. Carpet Spikes. This was actually one of the first strats that I used against the boss balloon. It actually worked really, really well. Now that I know what I know now, I think I can use it a little bit more effectively. But it's definitely not like an S class, not an A class, but I will give it a B class because it does help out a lot in the early game. If you go for the tier 4, it does a lot of damage as well. Anti-balloon, I'm going to place it under the same section as the Legend of the Night. Not going to be the end all be all, but it is a sacrifice for the vengeful sun god that you need. Blade Maelstrom, super cheap. Really cheap way of dealing with these ceramic balloons that come out of the boss balloon itself. I'm not going to place it as an S class, but I will give it a respectable AA class simply because it is so cheap and its cooldown is super short. Wizard Lord Phoenix, it has decent DPS. Not going to make or break. It is the tower that I always end up buying for the sacrifice. I think I will place it as a B class. I was debating on sending it down to D, but it does have a decent amount of DPS once you activate his Phoenix. Moving on to the Alchemist. Obviously, easy double S class. If you don't use the Alch, make sure you start. He's definitely a tower that you want to use against the boss balloon because it does increase the popping power of all of your towers. Banana Central. Easy double S class. If you don't use it, you have to. Top pathway, man, like it has decent amount of stall, but against the actual boss itself, outside of the stall that it provides, not really going to be the end all be all. I'm going to go ahead and place it under the same category as the Bomb Blitz. I don't think it's like a really amazing tower to have, but if you're going to go for stall, I would much rather go for Icicle Impale or Glue over the top pathway bomb shooter. Glaive Lord, a lot of popping power. It's actually a tower that I use as part of a strat that I usually use against the boss balloon. It's really helpful against the tier 2 and a little bit against the tier 3 as well. But because again it does fall off against the tier 4 and tier 5, I'm just gonna go ahead and place it with the other permacharge as well. Ray of Doom, way overpriced, nowhere near as good as the Mad or the Balloon Exclusion Zone. Easy C tier, almost want to place it as an F tier for the price. If you do end up getting the Ray of Doom, make sure you save it until the very, very end of the game. Kind of a waste of cash, so I will drop it from a C to an F. Ultra Jug, this is actually a tower that surprised me in this week's boss event. It absolutely shredded the tier 2 boss without an issue. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and throw this boy. I want to place it as an A tier, but because it's highly map dependent, I'm going to go ahead and place it under a B tier. Now, next thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at this tower. Now, I don't know exactly what I want to do here because I haven't tested it. It could either be an F tier or it can be a B tier. I don't know if it would help out against the boss a lot. I do know that it has massive amount of knockback, so you don't need to worry about the balloons slipping through. But in order for that to happen, you would need to invest quite a bit of money. So I don't know if it would be a good investment when you're actually going to be getting it. So I'm going to go ahead and place it as an NA for now. I'll go ahead and do a little bit of testing in my free time to see if it would actually be a tower worth getting in the future. Century Paragon, not really worth it. Kind of a mediocre DPS for the price, or it's kind of not super expensive, but kind of not cheap enough to like validate getting. So I'm going to throw it as a C tier for now. I'll do a little bit more testing. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. We'll find out eventually. Glue. I've heard some good things about this. I haven't tested it yet. I'm going to do a little bit of testing again to see if it would be a tower worth using. So for right now, I'm going to be placing it under the NA tab. Apache Prime. You guys might hate me for this, but Apache Prime, not worth it. Super Brittle. It depends on the strats you go for. If you go for like the tax shooter, the Super Brittle can definitely help out. It does increase the amount of damage that the boss balloon takes and is absolutely insane if used correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and place it as an S class. I don't think it's a double S class to where you need to use it every single game, but I do feel like it definitely deserves one of the top spots in this composition. Sky Shredder, another tower I heard a lot of really good things about. I haven't used it too much myself. The people that I heard it was good from are kind of respectable, so I will place the Sky Shredder under a B class for now. Who knows, I may move it up to an A, but for right now I'm going to leave it under a B tier. Carrier Flagship, map dependent, situational or situation dependent as well. Depends if you place your Vengeful Sun God in water or if you're basing your starting strat off of the Flying Fortress or the Sky Shredder, or if you're going for like a sub-commander strat. So it's very situational dependent. So because it's based on the situation, I'm not going to place it under this one where I would kind of like to place it, but we'll go ahead and place it under a B class tower for now. Energizer, A class. It doesn't do a lot of DPS, nothing too crazy, but it does decrease the amount of time it takes for your cooldowns to regenerate. So because of that, I'm going to place it as an A class tower. Primary expertise, not the end all be all. It does help with buffing like the Glaive Lord and like the tax zone. So because of that, I'm going to go ahead and throw it under a B class. Definitely not as good as the middle pathway or the bottom pathway, but it's definitely not like an F tier or something like that. Another mortar. This one you can kind of like let chill, but you still need to micro it a little bit. So because the micro isn't as insane as the middle pathway, I'll go ahead and give it a little bit of respect, and I'll place it as a C class for now. Grandmaster Ninja. I haven't used him yet. I think I'm going to use him once we get on a map to where I can have a bunch of room to place down a bunch of shinobis around the Grandmaster Ninja. But because I don't know if it would be a lot of damage against the boss balloon just yet, I'm going to go ahead and wait and place it under the NA folder for now. Cripple Moab. Easy S class because it does increase the amount of damage that you do against the boss balloon. So anything that helps us by giving or by making the boss balloon take a little bit more damage, I'm gonna go ahead and throw it under an S class tower for sure. Super Mines, I don't know exactly the maximum amount of DPS that this boy can fish out. It is a little bit pricey, but it will end up making sure that if the boss balloon makes it a little bit further than you would like it to, it will end up stacking up quite a bit. So we'll go ahead and throw it under a B class tower for now. True Sun God, not worth it. F class. If you're gonna go for a Sun God, well, actually, let me rephrase that. If you're gonna go for the tier 4 Sun Temple as a support temple, I'll place it as an A class. If you're gonna go for the True Sun God without upgrading it to the Vengeful Sun God, I'm gonna place it as an F class. So this one is a mixture. True Sun God F, support temple A. So I'm gonna base it off the fact that you guys are gonna use it for a support temple, so I'll place it as an A class tower for now. Infernal Ring, haven't used it too much. I imagine it would be kind of similar to the Tax Zone. It would be really good against up to the tier 3, and then it would fall off against the tier 4 and tier 5. So because of that, I'll place it under a D class tower for now. Archmage, kind of underwhelming. Definitely better towers to go for, like the Tax Zone or the MAD. Kind of a waste of cash. Definitely underwhelmed me when I actually used him against the boss balloon. The Vengeful Sun God, easy double S class. We've had to use the Vengeful Sun God on every single map so far in order to beat the elite boss. So Vengeful Sun God, double S. Admiral Brickell, situationally dependent, and depends on if you place your Vengeful Sun God to where it's a water version of the temple. If you do, I'll go ahead and give Brickell a little bit of respect. I'll place her as a B class. If you don't use the water temple in conjunction with Admiral Brickell, easy F class. But because if I were to have Admiral Brickell locked in, I would definitely go for the water version of the Sun Temple, and I would place it as a B class tower for sure. Well, with Adora, I'll place it as a B as well. Kind of has a semi-similar effect when it comes to buffing the Vengeful Sun God. It's just with Adora, you would be able to buff the Vengeful Sun God if it was on water or if it was on land. So actually, because of that, I'm going to move Adora up to an A class hero. Benjamin, double S. I don't think I need to say much more. If you are able to use Benjamin against the boss, use him. Striker Jones. Haven't used him yet. I don't know if the Mauler strat would be good against the boss, because you'll need a lot of Maulers by like round 60 to help out against the boss. I just don't know if it would be super effective. So because of that, I'm gonna place it under NA for now, and I'll give it a little bit more testing in the future. Captain Churchill, powerhouse, but when it comes against the boss, it's all about saving cash in the early game. So because of that, like spending 2k on your hero is just kind of a waste of money to start with. On top of that, I don't feel like he's going to do a lot of damage against the boss. So because of that, I'll place it as a C class hero for now. I'll do a little bit more testing in my off time, but I don't think I'm going to change my mind here. Azili, F class, her effect does not work against the boss, so she's kind of super ineffective. Gwendolyn, kind of under the same, or actually I'm going to place her under, I'll place her in the same category as Churchill. Doesn't really help out the team too much, but we'll do a little bit more testing. Etienne, I don't know yet. This one I need to be a little bit more careful about. I'm not going to throw it out there saying like he's not useful when you compare it to some of the other heroes like Adora, Benjamin, or Pickle Brickle. But at the same time, I don't know if it would do a lot of damage against the boss balloon. So we'll go ahead and place him under NA for now. Pat Fusty. I know it would buff the Vengeful Sun God, but I feel like there's other towers that would buff him a little bit more. So for that reason, I'll go ahead and place Pat Fusty under a D class tower for now, simply because it will end up buffing the Vengeful Sun God in some way, shape, or form. Moving on to Oben. I've used opening against the boss. He wasn't that bad, but he was only useful with the Avatar of Wrath. And I don't think the buff that will actually give the Vengeful Sun God will outweigh Adora or outweigh or Admiral Brickell. So I'm not going to place him as low as they did as Striker Jones, or not Striker Jones, but Captain Churchill or Gwen. But I'm not going to place him up with the rest of the heroes like Adora and Pickle Brickle. Let me see. Last two heroes on the list. We have Quincy. He's just outmatched against the boss. I mean, I hate to say it, but F class. Sada. This one I'm gonna rate her a little bit higher, because she can pretty much solo, map dependent, of course, up to round 39 by yourself, which will allow you to farm like crazy. It's just highly dependent on the map that you're actually playing on. So because of that, I'll go ahead and give her a B class rating for now. Again, she is map dependent, so I'll go ahead and place her under the same section as Pickle Brickle for now. The only reason, again, why I'm placing her higher than other heroes is because she's so cheap and she can solo until like round 39 by herself. Other than that, that's pretty much every single tower in the game. The only two towers that I don't have the PNGs for here are the Paragons, but I will say this: both Paragons will go under the double S class because both of the Paragons do 10 times damage against the boss balloon itself. So those were really easy to place. They would go under the same category as the Vengeful Sun God. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this tier list. If you guys have any other opinions, or if you guys feel like I rated towers too low or too high, please feel free to let me know in the comments below. I would love to debate it with you guys. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for today's vid. Thank you guys again so much for watching, but you guys know what time it is. I hope you guys have the most amazing day of your lives, and I will see you guys in the next one.